I told the media at the beginning of this campaign that being Prime Minister of my country, the greatest country in the world, has been an experience for which I will always be grateful, no matter how this election turns out. But I do admit to you that the past 2.5 years have not always been easy. One of the reasons we wanted to have this election by mid-October was to have this election over and done with before we hosted the International Summit of the Francophonie. Great honor for Canada. But you will recall that 2 years ago, I had one of the most difficult days as your Prime Minister at the last Francophonie Summit. I found myself caught in the center of a case of political correctness gone mad, as a number of foreign leaders, a large number of foreign leaders, demanded we sign on to a statement that would have singled Israel out for condemnation for having defended its democracy against the terrorism of Hezbollah, an organization that wants it wiped out from the face of the earth. I did not sign that, and I will not sign it. Now, friends, I remember not just that day, I remember those days well, when there were members of other parties actually going in and marching in the streets beside the flags of Hezbollah. They are the same people, the same commentators, who condemn me when I stand beside the Dalai Lama, when we cut off aid to Hamas, when we took a tough line against the government of Zimbabwe, when we refuse to participate in the Durban II conference, when we warn about the dangers emerging in Russia, when we make clear we will assert our sovereignty over our own Arctic. As Conservatives, as Prime Minister, I believe our foreign policy is not just about getting along and going along. It is to use this country's assets and goodwill to stand for something, to stand up for our most fundamental interests and our most basic values. Now, you know where I stand, and you know how I will stand on these kinds of matters. Do you really know? Do your friends and neighbors and work colleagues really know where our opponents stand? Do they know? What do you think they would have done in that situation with that kind of pressure at the Francophonie? We are asking Canadians in this election to think carefully about some very important questions. Who do you trust to steer this country through a troubled world economy? Who do you trust to put the needs of families and the treasury of the country ahead of the demands of special interests? Who do you trust to keep a minority government from descending into wild spending and absurd compromises? Who do you trust to protect law-abiding citizens and crack down on criminals? You should also ask yourselves and your neighbors this question. Who do you trust to be a voice for freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law in the Middle East or anywhere else in the world if it is suddenly no longer fashionable to do so? I appreciate your answer to that question. I appreciate